One of the most odd things that happened during that Zelensky, Trump, and the rest of the European Union summit meeting is that Zelensky did not offer a Fox News interview afterwards. He was set to be interviewed by Brett Baier, but he just canceled it immediately after. And I was wondering, why did that happen? And body language has just given us the answer. This is him. We guess that this is outside the White House or in the vicinity of the White House taking questions. And we have a very good idea of why he, let's say, here was not allowed to give that interview, to be with Brett Baier answering to questions, because he's going to answer one question right now, and you're going to see his body language, and let's deconstruct what's going on here. From Mario Knopfel, Zelensky, we don't have a date for a meeting with Putin yet. We don't have any date. We just confirmed after this productive meeting with the president and then with all our colleagues and partners that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposes to the President of the United States a bilateral meeting, then we will see the result of the bilateral, and afterward, it can become the trilateral. First between Zelensky and Putin, and then Zelensky, Putin, and Donald Trump. And we will see an end to this war. And if Trump can pull this off, well, you can imagine the ripples it will have worldwide. But meanwhile, we need to talk about body language. And here, he was answering a question in English. You know that sometimes he is just answering questions in Ukrainian. And this is important. The question was in English, so we can have the direct captions of this. But in this case, more than the captions, I want you to look at his body language directly. Let's watch the clip, and then we will analyze it.
President, just one more in English. Do you have a date where you've agreed to meet with President Putin of Russia?
No, we don't have any date. We just conformed after this productive meeting with the President and then with all our colleagues, with partners, who confirmed that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposed to President of the United States bilateral, and then we will see the result of bilateral, and then it can be trilateral. So I said all this, so Ukraine will never stop on the way to peace, and we are ready for any kind of formats, but on the level of leaders.
Okay, first question, my first and immediate question was, wasn't there any possibility to have, a proper podium instead of this, tea table right here, which looks insignificant, and not only looks insignificant, but doesn't allow for proper recording of the audio of what Zelensky is saying? That was really a real misstep. Who was in charge of this? I guess the people at the White House. It's the only thing. I can only imagine that it was in the grounds of the White House for security reasons, of course. But let's talk about his body language. Let's hide the captions. Let's hide the audio, because we are not going to need it. Notice a couple things in here. He's got his hands with the fingers crossed right over his belly, a bit of a defensive posture. Again, he doesn't have a podium, so he can at least place his hands on the podium to look a bit more powerful, to look a bit more dominant. And just a perk of having a very small table is that he looks taller. That is a good thing. And his feet, his heels were, I think that they were way too close. He should have, you should stand with your feet shoulders wide. Okay, so you look like you're standing solid on the ground. You look more powerful like that. This was a real insecure stance. I don't know if this was a stance throughout the whole exchange, but most important, when he's asked about this question, which is the question that everybody wants to know the answer about, he was having this body language, which is absolutely not confident at all. We're going to be playing this in slow motion. We see that He was having trouble listening to the questions. Maybe there was a lot of wind. And again, one good thing is that he was raising a bit his chin. Maybe he was counteracting that insecurity body language with a bit of a, that raised chin. That is a bit of a, more of a dominant gesture. That was much better, but still, he was really close. When he begins to answer, he begins to rock back and forth. That's something that you can allow yourself to do under some circumstances. You could say maybe he was nervous because he was answering in English. He was not answering in Ukrainian. Maybe you're right, but I've seen him talking in English many times with certain confidence, with no problem. I think he spoke in this time at the Oval Office with real confidence. And you remember the last time before that, he was really confident speaking in English, demanding security guarantees. So you know that he's got actual command of the English language. So I don't think that the fact that he was speaking in English was the fact that he looked nervous, because we have history of him being able to handle himself good in English. So that is important. So we continue, and he keeps that body language, and there's some pacifying gestures of him scratching his mouth, and touching the side of his lip corner as well, and return to that posture. This was in all cases a better posture when regards of the feet, but again, I don't know. I had my qualms about him answering this question like this, and then it dawned on me. You remember my analysis of his appearance, this appearance at the Oval Office. He was really nice with Donald Trump. He handled this letter to Melania Trump. Every time Putin was mentioned, he had no reaction. You remember the last time it was this react. Putin is not going to, you cannot trust Putin in any way. This time he was measured. It is my belief that he got maybe some advice before that Oval Office meeting. You should behave like this. You should avoid such and such. If Putin is mentioned, if a trilateral meeting is mentioned, don't move a muscle. Just go with it, man. Please don't F up this time. And I guess that's what was happening here. He was nervous not because he has no command of the English language. He absolutely has command of the English language. I think he was nervous because he was answering off the cuff, no script. He was talking to the press, and he knew that he was this very tight, guardrails of what he could answer. Okay, if you answer outside of this, if you say something wrong, it will be taken out of context. No doubt about this. There's absolutely no doubt anything you say here is going to be taken out of context. And maybe since he was so nervous right now, right after that meeting, even if we know that the meeting was productive and we are weeks away of a trilateral meeting and the end of the war, then maybe somebody told him, hey, you know what? You better not go to that bread buyer interview. Okay, we already had, you already did great at the Oval Office, a little golden star for you. You did great at that meeting with the rest of your EU allies. Nice. You look a bit nervous on this spontaneous interview outside of the White House. It is my idea. It would be a great idea that you tell bread buyer that no, we are we're calling it quits. And the funny thing is, you know that how Washington, D.C. has been, with all this super security these days, by the way. And it's super safe thanks to the National Guard and everything going right nowadays. And Brett Baier, by the way, was stopped by, I don't know if it was the police or was the National Guard. It was just a stop in his G-Wagon, a beautiful G-Wagon. And I thought, maybe they're stopping Brett Baier from going to interview Zelensky. They are delaying him so he cannot arrive on time to interview Zelensky. No, but ultimately, I think this was a suggestion. Maybe it was one of Donald Trump's advisors. Is anyone's guess? I remember that I was analyzing those pictures earlier, and there was a picture, and I had that analysis on my Power Pundit channel, and I remember Stephen Miller's body language. Maybe Stephen Miller was thinking, okay, this has gone so well, or maybe there was J.D. Vance, I don't know. Okay, this has been going so well. Let's try to not mess this up with this guy. Let's make sure that this guy just stays on track, because everything has been going, or maybe it was Marco Rubio. Maybe it was Marco Rubio. Okay, most likely would have been Marco Rubio. I don't want to waste more time on this. Let's get this done the right way. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and bliss.